Hello students, you know we are studying arterial blood pressure and we have to continue with the last part of under this topic, that is the applied part. What is hypertension, what is hypotension, their manifestation and treatment part. Okay, so these are the points. Till our previous lecture, we discuss these all points up to the regulation of arterial blood pressure. Today we have to continue with the hypertension and hypotension, that is applied part. In case long question is there and you are writing the answer of long question, you always end your answer with applied part, that is what is hypertension and hypotension. Okay, so we'll go there. We'll just summarize what we studied in our previous class before to enter into the hypertension. So we studied this introductory part. Okay, physiological variation, causes of blood pressure, significance of blood pressure, functions of blood pressure. Under regulation, it is divided into nervous regulation and long-term regulation, that is short-term and long-term regulation. Under short-term regulation, there is a role of nervous system and various reflexes are there. They are working together for the regulation of blood pressure. These reflexes are baroreceptor reflex, chemoreceptor reflex, then atrial and pulmonary artery reflex, then atrial reflex to the kidney, Benbridge reflex, CNS ischemic response. We studied how they are working and how they help to regulate the blood pressure. Okay. Uh, Also, in our previous class, we studied long-term regulation of arterial blood pressure. Under long-term regulation, there are two mechanisms. Kidney regulates blood pressure in two ways. One is by regulating the extracellular fluid volume, and second mechanism is through the renin-angiotensin system. Okay, it's a mechanism, renin-angiotensin mechanism. Okay, this is a renin-angiotensin system. And now we have to continue with hypertension and hypotension. Okay, suppose if the blood pressure get disturbed, you know the normal blood pressure, it is 120 plus minus 20 is the systolic blood pressure, and 80, sorry, not 80, 74 minus plus 16 millimeter of the mercury is a diastolic blood pressure. And here, if it is increased above the normal, it is called the hypertension, and if it is below the normal, decrease below the normal, then it is called the hypotension. Take one by one. First, see what is hypertension. So here definition is persistent increase in arterial blood pressure more than 140 by 90 millimeter of the mercury is considered as a hypertension. Okay, so when you are writing about the hypertension in your answer, first you mention the normal values. Okay, and then how much it increases in hypertension. So if the systolic blood pressure remain 140 or above and diastolic blood pressure 90 and above is considered hypertension, and it should be persistent. Okay, not, sometimes blood pressure also increases during the exercise and just when you are doing some activities, but that is not hypertension. If there is a persistent, means if the elevated blood pressure remain for more time, then it is called the hypertension. Okay, hypertension is divided into two types. primary hypertension and secondary hypertension. Okay. Now, what is primary hypertension? It is also called essential hypertension. Okay. It is there. Okay. And why it is there? What is the cause of primary hypertension? The cause is unknown, or it is without underlying. If you see in the patient, there is no major disease or problem in the body, then also blood pressure it remains high, and that is called the primary hypertension. If you see in the population, most of the people they are suffered due to the primary hypertension. Okay, so most of the people that if see the with hypertension, they are with the primary hypertension, and this hypertension it comes due to the increased peripheral resistance. Okay, it is said that the causes is unknown, but we can connect it with the lifestyle of the person. The If the person is constantly under the stress, okay, or if there is a lack of activities, if less exercise, if the sedentary lifestyle is there, or if the diet habits are not good, okay, or if the person is with overweight, so these are also related with the primary hypertension. So primary hypertension cannot be cured, okay, permanently, but here it can be kept in the under the normal by medication. It can be uh, controlled to the normal, but it cannot be cured. Okay, then what is secondary hypertension? Here the cause is secondary. Okay, there is a hypertension but cause is secondary, and if we solve this secondary cause, if we given the treatment, then secondary hypertension can be cured. Okay, and see the examples. It is due to some underlying diseases. For example, if there is a problem in cardiovascular system, then it is called the cardiovascular hypertension. For example, it is due to disorders like atherosclerosis or coarctation of the aorta. What is atherosclerosis? You know, it is a hardening of the blood vessel. You know, due to the deposition of the calcium ions, the, there is a fibrous growth in the vessels, and it leads into the hardening of the vessel. Okay, and that's why the elasticity of the vessels it loses, and you know, this is a narrowing of the vessels. There is a increase the it increases resistance to the blood flow, and ultimately it leads into the increase in blood pressure. Okay, so coarctation of aorta is also called the narrowing of the aorta, also one of the cause of cardiovascular hypertension. Now, if there is a hormonal problem, if there is a problem in endocrine system, okay, that is hypersecretion of some glands, it leads into the hypertension. For example, it is due to the hyperactivity of the some endocrine glands. One, the adrenal gland. So if there is a hyperactivity, or if the over secretion of adrenal gland, it may be the due to the tumor to the adrenal gland. It is called the pheochromocytoma, and in this condition, the adrenal hormones or adrenalism it can occur. Adrenal hormone it remains high. That is a medullary hormone, adrenal medullary hormone. For example, serotonin, adrenaline, this hormone their level it remains high, leads into the hypertension. Okay, then hyperaldosteronism. So here in this condition, there is an excess secretion of the aldosterone from the adrenal cortex. And you know, so what is a function of the aldosterone? It increases the blood volume by increasing the more retention of water and salt. If its level is high in the body, then it leads into the hypertension. Okay. Then third cause is Cushing syndrome. You know, in the Cushing syndrome, due to the excess secretion of glucocorticoids from the adrenal cortex. It also causes the hypertension because this hormone is concerned with the metabolism, that it increases the metabolism, and that's why uh, it causes the more blood pressure remain high. Okay, then the renal hypertension, if there is a problem in the kidney, kidney mainly it regulates the water balance and also the iron balance in the body. If the iron balance, for example sodium ions concentration get disturbed, water balance get disturbed in the body, then it leads into the hypertension or hypotension. So causes of renal hypertension, it is due to the renal diseases like stenosis of the renal arteries. Okay, stenosis means narrowing of the renal arteries. It leads into the hypertension. Then for example, if stenosis means if the blood supply to the kidney it decreases due to the stenosis. Stenosis I told the narrowing, and if due to this if the blood flow to the kidney decrease, it activates the renin angiotensin system, and we discussed in our previous class, angiotensin 2 is a powerful vasoconstrictor substance, and the blood pressure it remain high. Okay, then tumor to juxtaglomerular cells, you know role of the juxtaglomerular cells here. When the blood pressure is dropped, when blood flow to the kidneys drop, then it leads into the stimulation of the juxtaglomerular cells, it causes the release of renin, then renin causes the formation of the angiotensin 2, and angiotensin 2 is a powerful vasoconstrictor, okay, substance, elevates the blood pressure. Then third cause of renal hypertension is glomerulonephritis. Okay, here there is inflammation of uh, glomeruli, and it also leads into the hypertension because it disturbs the functions of kidney. In this way, if there is a problem in the kidney, and it leads into the hypertension. Then fourth cause of secondary hypertension is neurogenic hypertension. So it is due to the nervous disorder, the problem in the nervous system. For example, increased intracranial pressure also causes the hypertension. Lesion in tractus solitarius, it also causes hypertension. Sectioning of nerve fibers from carotid sinus leads into the hypertension. The vasomotor centers, particularly sensory area, it is located in the tractus solitarius. Okay, and it is concerned with the regulation of blood pressure because it maintains the sympathetic tone. Then also the nerve fibers, that is from the glossopharyngeal nerve, it carries the signals from carotid sinus where the baroreceptors are located, and sectioning of these nerves also it causes the hypertension by increasing sympathetic tone. Okay, next, hypertension during the pregnancy. This is also one of the secondary cause. In pregnant lady, all uh, cardiovascular parameters remain high. It remain about 40% high. In some women, uh, it is due to the low glomerular filtration rate and more retention of sodium and water. Okay, so there's hormonal changes it occurs. Also, the GFR is less, and that all leads into the hypertension. Some autoimmune process during the pregnancy is also one of the cause. Then release of the vasoconstrictor agent from the placenta also increases the blood pressure. Then excessive secretion of the some hormones. Okay, we just discussed aldosterone, glucocorticoids. Okay, these hormones also, then adrenaline, also it increases hypertension by causing the this thing vasoconstriction. Okay, then these are the this what we discuss up to this point is about the secondary hypertension. Now see the manifestation means what are the effects of hypertension on the body, that is called the manifestation. Here we can see that what symptoms you can observe if the hypertension is not treated or it is remained there for long time. So here high blood pressure, if not controlled, if not treated within time, can cause renal failure. Okay, so high blood pressure can destroy the nephrons, and that leads into the, because you know the glomerular filtration, the pressure in the glomerular capillary, and that is about 60 millimeter of mercury, and if it is increased more than very high, more than normal or very high, that causes the hemorrhage, or it leads into the renal failure. Then left ventricular failure, you know, if the blood pressure remain high, then it is a constant load on the heart. You know, the left ventricle, it pumps the blood into the systemic circulation, and it works against the systolic pressure. If the blood pressure remain high, then it causes the hypertrophy of the left ventricle, or also the some myocarditis in the left ventricle, or myocardial infarction. It can also leads into the myocardial infarction. Okay, so the persistent hypertension can lead into the left ventricular failure, myocardial infarction. Then it also leads into the renal hemorrhage, cerebral hemorrhage. You know, the hemorrhage means it is a blood oozing out from the capillaries. Okay, the bursting of the capillaries can occur if the blood pressure remain high, and in this way it creates the problem, and these problems can be leads into the failure of the organ, and the death of the person can be ensure cause. Okay, then coming to the treatment part, treatment of hypertension. So here I told that secondary hypertension is cured by treating the underlying disease. Okay, underlying disease, the disease causing the hypertension. Okay, so secondary hypertension can be cured by the treatment, by that is a disease causing the hypertension can be cured, but primary hypertension cannot be cured completely. Okay, but it can be treated by hypotensive drugs. Okay, so blood pressure can be kept at normal level by the medication. Okay, that give by giving the hypotensive drug, means the drugs which help to decrease the blood pressure, these are called the hypotensive drugs. Okay, so with the proper medication, blood pressure can be maintained, okay, at the normal level, but it cannot be cured completely. Okay, now we'll proceed with the treatment. What are the different hypotensive drugs, different types of the drugs used in the hypertension? So depending on the severity of the hypertension, these are the drugs and they are used. Okay, first see the beta blockers. So you know, this beta blockers, you know, in our, you just try to remember, in our class of regulation of heart rate, that time I told, even I also told in the practical, is a demonstration practical, so effect of drugs on the heart. That time I told what are the receptors. Okay, and adrenergic receptors, we that time we studied. So beta receptors are there, alpha receptors are there, and you know, alpha receptors are present on arteries, blood vessels, while the beta receptors are divided into beta 1 receptors and beta 2 receptors. Particularly beta 1 receptor, it is located on the myocardium. that is a cardiac muscle. Okay, and you know there are the drugs which acts on the beta receptors or alpha receptors. So beta blockers are there, alpha blockers are there. Okay, that means if we give the particular drugs which block the function of uh, that is the action of adrenaline and non-adrenaline on beta receptors. Okay, so the drugs block the sympathetic beta receptors, and these beta blockers, these are drugs which block the sympathetic beta receptors on the heart and decrease the heart rate, decrease the contractility of the heart. Ultimately there is decrease in blood cardiac output, and in addition to that also the inhibition of the vasoconstriction. Okay, so inhibition of the vasoconstriction and decrease in cardiac output, which leads into the decrease in blood pressure. And in this way beta blockers which bring the blood pressure to the normal. Beta blockers, again I will repeat, so it blocks the action of adrenaline and non-adrenaline on beta receptors. Okay, and what is action of adrenaline and non-adrenaline? The adrenaline and non-adrenaline, it stimulate the heart and causes the vasoconstriction. Okay, so second class of the drugs, these are called the calcium channel blockers. You know, calcium channel blockers. Okay, here it blocks the calcium channels in myocardium. You know, I will just try to remember. If you see the mechanism of contraction of cardiac muscle, the cardiac muscles are depends more for its contraction on calcium from extracellular fluid. Okay, and you know during the process of contraction the calcium it enters from extracellular fluid through the T tubule, L tubule in cytosol, and it causes the contraction. It helps the contraction of myocardium. That is a normal process. But in under the treatment there are the drugs, there are the some drugs which blocks this calcium channel, and if these calcium channels are blocked that decreases the contractility, means effect of the calcium. Ultimately, in short we can say that effect of calcium is will be decreased, and which leads into the decrease contractility. That means there is decrease in force of contraction, decrease in cardiac output, and the blood pressure it comes to the normal. So activity of the myocardium is decreased and bring the blood pressure to the normal. Okay, then third class of drugs, hypotensive drugs, these are called the vasodilators. So these drugs directly acts on the vessels, blood vessel, and it causes the vasodilatation. Okay, and in this way it brings the blood pressure to the normal. In addition to that, there are the class of drugs, these are called the diuretics. Okay, and it can be given in combination with the above these drugs. So diuretics are the drugs which increases the loss of water. How it works? It causes the diuresis, means more loss of water uh, ions from the kidney. Okay, in this way it helps to bring the or to decrease the extracellular fluid, decrease in blood volume, and decrease in blood pressure. Okay, now the next class, some drugs are there, they are called the inhibitors of angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay, ACE. So again we'll repeat, the inhibitors of angiotensin converting enzymes. You try to remember, in our previous class we studied that is renin angiotensin system, and in renin angiotensin system there is one enzyme. That enzyme it converts angiotensin 1 into the angiotensin 2 in lungs, capillaries of the lung, and that enzyme is called the angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay, so what is function of this enzyme? It converts angiotensin 1 into the angiotensin 2. So here there are the drugs and given under the treatment. These drugs, it inhibits this action, that is conversion of, means it inhibits this enzyme, and it inhibits the function of this particular enzyme which convert angiotensin 1 into the angiotensin 2, and in this way decrease blood pressure by blocking the formation of angiotensin 2. Okay, I think you followed this mechanism. Then in addition to that, there are also the drugs that has the central action, that is direct action on vasomotor centers, and they are called the depressors of vasomotor centers. So acts on the vasomotor center, that acts on the vasomotor center and decreases the sympathetic tone. Decrease in sympathetic tone, it leads into the decrease in vasoconstriction, and that means there is a vasodilatation and bring the blood pressure to the normal, or the blood pressure it decreases. Okay, now we continue. Next point is hypotension. The hypotension, it is opposite to the hypertension. Here blood pressure less than 100 by 60 millimeter of the mercury is considered as a hypotension. Okay, so hypotension, here also you first mention the normal values of blood pressure, and if the blood pressure remain low, below the 100 by 100 systolic and 60 diastolic, if it is remain below the 100 by 60, then it is called the hypotension. Again there is the two types, primary and secondary hypotension. First, the primary hypotension, it is also called essential hypotension. Okay, again the cause is unknown and it is without underlying disease. Okay, so here we don't know exactly cause of hypotension, but blood pressure remain low. Here you can see the common symptoms like fatigue, frequent fatigue is there, weaknesses are the common symptoms in the patient. You can see the weakness. With hypotension, person is not susceptible to the heart and heart and renal disease, kidney disease. जैसे कि hypertension में heart gets suffer, kidney gets suffer. Okay, um, it causes the left ventricular failure, or it can leads into the myocardial infarction that leads into the heart rate or angina pectoris. But in renal failure, it causes in hypertension. Like this, in under hypotension, such thing not happens. Just means these organs are not susceptible to the hypotension. Okay. Then next slide. Secondary hypotension, it occurs due to the some diseases like myocardial infarction, hypoactivity of pituitary gland, hypoactivity of renal gland, tuberculosis, and nervous disorders. Okay, so these are, in myo myocardial infarction, the heart it becomes weak, and the sufficient blood cannot be pumped into the circulation, that decreases cardiac output and the blood pressure remain low. Okay, uh, what is its relation? Myocardial infarcted area, it does not take part in actual contraction. Suppose this particular area is infarcted, that means it cannot contract and relax, means there is no effective pumping of the blood, and decrease in cardiac output, decrease in blood pressure remain low. Then hypoactivity of pituitary gland, most of the hormones are related with the metabolism, and also if they cause the vasoconstriction, stimulate the heart. If their activity is low, hypoactivity, then it leads into the hypotension. Adrenal gland, you know, it is one of the source of adrenaline hormone, and uh, here, if there is a hypoactivity of the adrenal gland, then it leads into the hypotension. In tuberculosis and some nervous disorder also, we get the hypotension. Okay. Now the last slide, student, the one terminology is there, that is a orthostatic hypotension. So what is a orthostatic hypotension? It is a hypotension when the suddenly fall suddenly fall in blood pressure, sorry, suddenly fall in blood pressure while standing for some time. If the person stand for some time, the blood pressure it falls. Okay. And here it is due to the effect of the gravity on the body. Hydrostatic pressure it decreases, and blood pressure fall by 20 millimeter of the mercury, and the diastolic blood pressure by 10 millimeter of the mercury within the 3 minutes of the standing. Okay. And it it can leads to the transient syncope, or orthostatic syncope is a state of temporary unconsciousness. So person falls and enters into the state of unconsciousness. So temporary unconsciousness, that is called the orthostatic hypotension. Okay. So simply when person suddenly stand, and within 3 minutes it develops, and it causes the transient syncope. The syncope means this is a temporary unconsciousness. See some causes. It develops in the person affected due to the myasthenia gravis. You know the myasthenia gravis. Then also in some nervous disorder like tabus dorsalis, mylia, and diabetic neuropathy. These are the some causes, where these are the some condition in which the person develops orthostatic hypotension. Okay. This is, students, this is all about the applied part of arterial blood pressure, that what we discussed is a hypertension and hypotension. We'll end here, students. This much is sufficient under arterial blood pressure. Bye.